Hello, I'm Bert Oliver, and welcome to Bowie News and Views. And with my co-producer, co-host, John Rouse, retired editor of the Bowie Blade News, is going to introduce a special guest for the day. John?
I am indeed, and she is a very special guest. Although in the days way back when we used to argue a bit, but Terry Schuette was one of the top reporters the Bowie Blade News ever had. Lots of people out there will remember her story. She covered City Hall, did features, and kept us up to date on her family.
Always
in her column. We had fun, Terry, in those days. Remember that? It was real journalism.
We did. We had a lot of fun. You know, I can't say that I don't like being retired. I do. Laziness takes over, and you think,
I too.
Thank the Lord I have nothing to do. But no, we had a good time, and I think the paper covered a city the size of Bowie pretty well for the size of its staff, which was small.
Well, Terry, it was a lot bigger than what they've got now.
Yeah.
But then again, the paper isn't even in Bowie anymore.
Yeah.
Doesn't that kind of feel funny?
Well, it does feel funny, and I do believe that presence in the community does matter. Mm-hmm. I remember people bringing in their stories. They could just as well have mailed them or dropped them through the slot, you know, at night.
Yeah.
But so many people would come in, and they would want to talk to you. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, sometimes at deadline time you couldn't do that, but other days you could.
Yeah.
And I just don't see people running down to Annapolis with a piece that they want to go in the paper. They're just not going to do it.
I don't know if there's a drop-off point in Bowie. I don't know anything about it if there is.
I don't either. I haven't seen any notice of that in the paper.
No.
Well, and that point's mighty important, John. But Terry was a resident of Bowie. Mm-hmm. You were a resident of Bowie. Mm-hmm. And all the other reporters, most of them were too.
Mm-hmm. In the old days.
In the old days, when you guys were there.
Well, when I became editor of the old Bowie News, way back when, I had to live in Bowie. I had no choice. The current editor doesn't. I think he lives in Laurel or somewhere.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, he didn't live when he was a reporter for the Blade. He didn't live here, did he?
No.
Yeah,
no.
That's what I thought. He had lived somewhere else. I don't know. I think it's sad, but I think it's sad that all newspapers are, going down the tubes. People just don't, they don't read them like they used to.
No, they don't.
There's no question.
There's no question about that.
The circulation is falling, and the papers aren't as good. I remember the days when there might be in the Washington Post, say, or the New York Times, a really major newspaper. There might be one correction.
Yeah.
Or two,
mm-hmm.
that somebody had misspelled a name, or had the wrong date or whatever. There was a mistake. Now it takes half a page, sometimes more than that, because there are so many.
And that's the ones that someone caught for them.
Yeah, the bottom of the New York Times, page 2.
Yeah, yeah.
You covered elections that were really elections that were fun. From my perspective, they were fun because there was always a beer party in the backyard. But people took the election seriously. We had lots and lots of coverage in our paper from 3 months before the election actually transpired. Constant coverage. There was none of this in this past election. What do you see as the failings now of city elections?
Well, that lack of coverage, there's no way to get to know these people. 3 of the candidates knocked at my door. It was Pete Mellitz, Diane Palangin, and Geraldine.
Same here. Yeah.
Knocked at my door. No one else did.
Nope.
I got a call from Kathy Brady, Dennis's wife.
Oh, I didn't even get that.
Asking if we'd put a sign on our lawn. Well, your street's too short, John. They don't need.
Yeah, but I put signs up on the hill.
Oh, okay, that's true. That's true, on the way in and out. But I always tried to not just hit the top issues that they're for or against, but to try and tell people something about the person.
Yeah.
Who they were, and what their interests were before they got into a particular race or, got interested in politics at all. I think that matters to people.
I agree.
Because people, you know, we all like to think that people vote on the issues. They always say, I don't want to know about that, I want to know about the issues. But they may want to know about them, but that's not how they vote.
No, it is not. Never.
They
has
vote
been.
for people they like.
Yeah.
And people
You're
they
right.
know something about. You know, the famous George Bush thing, he's a guy I'd like to have a beer with. You know, but that's true.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it is true. And there was none of that this time. I kind of felt sorry for Pete Millets because there was no way to get to know who he was, you know, and what background he had and what he would have to contribute. There's nothing against Diane Palangan, who is a known quantity, because even before she was elected, she ran a couple of times, you know, so she had...
Several times.
Yeah. And so she had some coverage. But this time, I don't know how people made their decision other than, you know, experience counts.
I agree. The experience counts
That
thing.
is important.
Because the coverage, in my estimation, was appalling. And then you see this guy Kennedy, who emerged in the at-large race, who I never heard of. I'm sure you never heard of. He walks away with 1,000 votes, which blew my mind. And then 540 some odd votes, I think, for this mayoral candidate who, A, never appeared at the one candidates forum they had, and B, never answered the paper's questions. 540 votes, the protest vote, I assume that is.
The guy who ran for mayor, you mean?
Yeah, president of the Bowie Boys and
Yeah,
Girls
well,
Club.
but that was a boy. Don't you think that was a Boys and Girls Club vote?
Sure,
I
it
don't know.
was.
Fred says no.
No? Okay,
Yeah,
well,
Fred
Fred should
says
know.
that he had calls from these people, and they said, "Look, we're sorry about that," because Fred's always done a lot for the Bowie Boys and
Sure.
Girls
Oh,
Club.
yeah.
It was interesting.
Yeah, but see, I don't know how they could. I don't know how you could justify that vote. And
I don't either.
And it's nothing against the man.
No, I just.
But
don't
there
see
was
the-
just, you simply knew nothing about him except that he was
Yeah.
president of the Bowie Boys
I
and
received no
Girls Club.
literature from this guy. I have no idea what his qualifications are, and his minimal answers to the questions. And I did see him sort of struggle along at the candidates forum. It wasn't terribly impressive. Well, now 1,000 people went out and voted for.
You're talking about Kennedy.
Kennedy. Yeah.
Well, you know, there were only, according to the Bowie Blade, there were only 75 people at the candidates forum, which is a really pitiful showing.
true.
Absolutely.
In a city the size of Bowie.
Well, it was only a 15% turnout for the vote. 15%.
And John had predicted that percentage,
I did.
and I thought it'd be less, but we didn't make bets.
You
But
thought it would be less?
Well, 13 to 15%. I just felt there was no passion in the contest at all.
There was none whatsoever. You remember the old days? The election was febrile. It was
People were out stealing signs, you
hitting
know,
each other over the head.
doing-
Oh, it was great.
And they had.
I know it. I
in the
paid for some signs.
in the very beginning, you know, they had a better percentage than that when they were electing the president of the Bowie Citizens Association
true.
before we
That's
even had a city government.
That's true.
And I don't put down, well, I kind of do, but I try not to put down the experience argument, because I was telling John, you know, when you're as old as I am, of course I think experience counts. What else do I have that counts?
You're right there.
But it's, there's something to be said for new blood as well.
Yes.
And
Well, I
new
think so.
ideas. And I thought the only person who had, you know, a real opponent in this race was Diane.
Yes.
And this was her first term. So, you know, the new blood argument doesn't really go a long way with that, because
Didn't work.
well, no, but, and I don't think he used it, actually. Those are my words, not his.
Oh, okay.
I don't, I don't know, I just missed, I just missed people being interested in it. I never heard, if you went out to dinner and stuff, you never overheard people talking about it.
No, never.
No,
That's right.
there was just a void. I don't know what else to call it.
And the candidates,
right.
when they went door to door, people were just, what election?
Yeah, that's the point we were making earlier.
Yeah.
in the
If it
campaign.
wasn't for, you know, if it wasn't for the ever, you know, controversial yard signs,
I know.
you wouldn't have known
And even
That's
they're
right.
down
that
in
there
number.
was one. Oh yeah,
Oh, my.
definitely down in number. We had